The Pentagon suspended a course back in April in the U.S. military that discusses the idea that Islam is the enemy. And it had such ideas as they hate everything you stand for and will never coexist with you unless you submit. This is from the instructor, Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Dooley. It had the idea that it was suggesting that the country our country might ultimately have to obliterate the Islamic holy cities of Mecca and Medina without regard for civilian deaths. And so this was very specific to the religion, a direct ideological and philosophical confrontation with Islam. And I just wanted to bring this up as a kind of a discussion point, because I mean it's great. So the class got shut down because of the fact that a student finally took it that was like, what's going on here?
Right.
Because it was specific. I mean, it was contradictory to the sorry, I lost tabs on, but the military line of thought on this was like, oh, we're over there helping them and things
right.
like that, and it's not a war against Islam and so on. But then this class directly contradicted that idea.
Right.
And while partially true, I mean, I think that Sam Harris said it best years ago when he did his letters to, I think Letters to Islam was the title.
Letters to a Christian Nation.
That's it. So yeah, Letters to a Christian Nation, where he does address the fact that, like, in a way, when we're going to war with the Middle East, we are going to war with the religion. That's kind of unavoidable, but it's not the intention.
Right.
And so, especially from a military aspect, to be teaching our soldiers that, like, Islam itself, the religion itself, is the enemy is, like, to me, really counterproductive. Like, I don't think we should be over there at all. But when we are over there, you're discussing the ideas of we're there to bring democracy and we're there to help them as a people. How are our soldiers supposed to avoid things like what we recently had, where they're like urinating on the dead, Al Qaeda people and things
right.
of that nature, and get them to that place where they're going to work with the civilians, where they're going to have this nature of cooperation and really get past these religious barriers and things like that, and just come together as people to make the situation better. I mean, I think you do have that conflict with Islam is obviously there, but to actually be teaching it to your military, and the FBI had the same problem. I just want to see what you guys thought about it.
No, I would say it's disgusting. I mean, in the discussions that we have, in the discussions that you guys present, never been talking about the obliteration of human beings or people who follow things. It's enlightening human beings and bringing some thought process and showing the problem with religions. When you're flat out teaching the obliteration of human beings based on their belief.
Well, which is funny. It's one of those, when you look at the hardline, Islamic fundamentalists, boy, this class really sounds exactly like they do, just going in the opposite direction, doesn't it?
That's a great point.
The idea of teaching people that, no, we can't coexist and we can't get along. And while I agree there are passages in the Quran that really make it sound like we can't get along, there's a difference between the hardline people and people who are the more moderate. We wouldn't treat Christianity in this way, because there are the hardline Christians who more or less fall into the same category of we can't get along and certain people need to be stoned to death or whatever it is, but we wouldn't treat Christians in this country or another country that way. We wouldn't talk about how we may need to obliterate certain cities and things like that to get these hardline Christians under control. So why should we treat Muslims like that?
Yeah.
And didn't something similar to this happen previously? Wasn't it World War II, where we tried to obliterate a specific set of individual principles, and wasn't that considered one of the worst things
humans ever
did? So
pretty much.
That was actually, I didn't add that. That was actually the second line of the, when they're talking about obliterating Mecca and Medina, that they would be similar to the idea of following the Second World War precedents of nuclear attack on Hiroshima.
Well, it's insane to me to think that people have no sort of thought process when they come up with these things, where they don't stop and think, haven't we tried some of these things before? Weren't they, don't we abhor such things now? Don't we teach in history how wrong it was to have these thoughts? And as we've had in discussions just today, we've shown the fundamentalists, the Muslims who may feel that we should be stoned to death or may have the same thing, they are the minority.
Yeah.
And so why are we going to start bulking everything in now and treating the minority as the majority, and what do you hope to accomplish by doing this?
Well, and how are you supposed to give them democracy when you're over there, but you you don't agree with their ideals, or you can't even put yourself in a place where you understand where they're coming from religious perspective, and allow them their freedoms of, like, if that's how you want to run your lives, and this is the religion that tells you how to do it, then I have to respect that, because that's the democracy that you're looking for. But that's never our actual goal. I mean, our goal is never to actually give them true democracy. I mean, that's why the American government leaves all these dictators in place for such long periods of time, is because they play nice with us, because they're easy to control. If we can keep with one guy, and they don't let the conflicts of like the sanctity of their ideas and things get as much in the way when they're just dealing with us and the dictator directly, as opposed to dealing with the democracy of the people. I mean, that's why we're already seeing Egypt kind of have a flare up of, like, what are we going to do now that we have like our voice is what we want to govern this country, and that's why they're having a little bit of flare ups there.
Agreed.
So
I don't know. It's interesting. It's I think it's a problem of how are we going to view Islam, or really any religion, if we're really going to look at it from a standpoint of, we may need to obliterate holy sites, and we're not there to help them, and they will never like us, and we can never coexist. And that's, I mean, for starters, that's not reality. There's plenty of Muslims who even live in the United States who perfectly coexist and get along with it, because the idea is that we're supposed to be a society where everybody gets to make their choice, and everybody has to be free to make that choice. And this seems totally counterintuitive to not only the mission that is supposedly going on in the Middle East, but also the philosophy that our government is based upon, that everyone is supposed to get that choice. Right. So it's good that they've canceled it, and it's good that they've not canceled it just because of lack of interest, but they've actually gone out of their way to see, like, no, this is actually antithetical to what we're trying to do.
Someone in the class had realized that as the class was going on, and was like, this is counter to everything else I've been taught in the military.
Right.
And it was a small class. And it wasn't taught that often, but it was still something. At least they recognized it and have taken care of it. But they also, when that came up, they also found that there were similar ideas in the other federal agencies like the FBI, that they've had to adjust some of their training courses as well, because it was teaching some of that same basically hatred of Islam being taught. So it's a very positive that this has been addressed, and we're seeing some progress. But it's an interesting idea, and if you guys have any thoughts on that, we'd like to hear that as well. So, Outcast out.